For those of you who don't know me, I am Courtney Nielsen. I run the Eagle Mountain office with my husband Ben, and I've been in real estate since 2012, and yeah. Prior to being in real estate, I was a teacher, and since then, I went full time real estate in 2016, and we've been running it together as a couple and as a team. And yeah, any questions about me? All right, let me just do a quick introduction so I get to know everybody in the room before we move forward with the class. I know Amy. Amy's at my office, but tell everyone who you are and how long you've been in real estate. And
So I'm Amy Deming. I got my license at the end of 2020. Took a little break last summer when things got kind of crazy. Jumped back in January, joined Courtney's team, and so here I am doing and trying to reignite myself, right?
Yeah, it's a perfect place to be.
I'm Courtney Huber, and I just got my license for about a month, and
awesome,
working it all up.
Good.
Cesar, I also have a license for about 2 months.
Good. Yes. I've heard you kind of need to go through Ignite like twice before it really like starts to sink in and you're like, have these aha. Oh, I get it. Oh, really? Oh my goodness. So this is awesome. So it's good. Okay. Who taught it last time? Who taught it the first time you were here? Day one. Do you remember? No, it's okay. Okay, front row, Joe's. Yay! Congrats! Oh my gosh! The last time I saw you, you were still you hadn't taken the test.
Also happened to me too.
Yeah, so
What?
I went straight to Salt Lake and gave him my whole application there in person. I'm like, here, you can't mess this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I just did when I applied for my broker is I went straight down. Here you go. It's safer that way.
Real estate broker associate rather than you
I don't know about that. Yeah. I'm 45. Exactly.
I've seen a lot of recessions.
Yeah.
But about 6 years ago, I left real estate to take care of my husband who was ill.
Oh.
And he just passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm back. And real estate has changed so much. And
yeah.
I helped build Keller Williams, California.
Oh, neat. What part? Okay. Okay.
And so, but it's changed. And I'm here like a brand new agent starting over.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, welcome. But I think having you here is great though, because you've made and received several offers in your lifetime. So I think some of your expertise would be great to hear how you've done it in the past. Awesome. What? Literally a day? Oh my goodness. Congratulations. That's amazing. Well, very good. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited for today. Okay, where did my slideshow go? Let me go back to my. Okay, so it looks like last time you guys talked about, what did you talk about? The offer process? Do we have that class? Remember what did
buyers and sellers?
Yeah, winning the buyer.
Oh, winning the buyer and winning the seller. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like we can kind of condense a few of them together. Okay, so what did you learn from win the buyer and win the seller? That's okay.
Your client should like know, like not the exact date, but around when things should be happening.
I like that.
How your Some of them choose to text, some of them choose to call. Keep track of that. So
right.
mirror.
And sometimes they email, and emails get lost if you're not an email. I have one client right now who likes to email, and I'm like, oh crap, I have to make sure I check my email all the time, but sometimes that kind of thing slips through because I'm like, yes, I love that. Yes, we need to mirror the way that our clients communicate. Even if we prefer text or call, if they like another way, we need to do it that way. Courtney, what about you? Did you learn anything?
I loved Amber's whole style of doing things. One of the things that stood out to me is the way she sets boundaries with her clients, saying like, I'm not a robot. I will answer your calls as quickly as I can. If you call or text me after 9, I probably won't get back to you till the next day.
Yeah.
And just like Ivan was saying, set that expectation in the beginning. That boundary just sort of gives everybody kind of some rules about.
Yes. Something that I'm even just realizing for myself, and I've been doing this a while, is I'm a night owl. And so I get caught up on work sometimes in like late at night, when nobody's bugging me. But I realized recently, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm sending emails to people at 1 a.m. What message is that sending them? It's telling them I'm available 24 hours and I'm really not, that's just some time that I'm like, so I have to figure out how to do those, like schedule the email. So like send my email at 1 a.m, but actually send at 8. So that I'm not sending that message. I was just realizing, that's a lot. It's taken me a while to realize I should not be doing that. Because yes, boundaries are so important, especially when this business is, it's not a 8 to 5 job, right? We do have to make ourselves available to our clients. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about making and receiving offers today. So, well, we're supposed to review this. I think it's a good idea to always review the belief system that we have here at KW. So the WI4C2TES, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing, customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first to understand, creativity, ideas before results, teamwork, together everyone achieves more, trust starts with honesty, equity, opportunities for all, success results through people. And I think this is a good thing to review before we get into talking about making and receiving offers, because this matters when we're negotiating, not just not in the relationships that we're building with our clients, but the relationships that we're building with other agents. Our relationships matter. People matter above everything. So I love that we emphasize that, win-win or no deal. So we want everybody to win in this situation. I remember when I first got into real estate, I didn't quite understand what that meant to negotiate. I kind of thought like I was so stressed and like in knots my stomach was in knots when I felt like I had to like do everything to make sure that my client was getting everything that they needed and wanted. And it's almost like I felt like, and I do want all that for my client, right? But at the end of the day, we want everybody to make sure that they're winning on both sides. So yeah, if we can't get everything, we want to get everything that's important to you, hopefully, at the end of the day, and vice versa on the other side. We want to make it work for both parties so that everybody's feeling good about it. We don't want to do anything in a situation to jeopardize our integrity. And I think the teamwork, we're all working together. And I think if we're creating that relationship with the other agent, this is a teamwork type deal. We're not pitting against each other, this isn't a war. We want to make this work for everyone. You will be so much happier in your business and in your life. And you'll get more deals. You just will. So I like that. All right. So today we're going to talk about the offer process, preparing the offer, writing the offer, presenting it, receiving and responding, and then recap. So let's jump to it. Some of the best agents I know love nothing more than a difficult negotiation that gives them a chance to really shine, to acknowledge objections, to discover a solution with which both sides can be happy. This is sometimes tricky, right? Have you had any experiences where you've been in a situation like this?
Yes, there was a bank that had some foreclosures that they couldn't get rid of in the apartment building.
Oh, wow.
And I spoke with the officer of the bank about hearing some paper so that we could market the apartment buildings with that feature. And we got all the apartment buildings sold because he was willing to carry paper.
Oh, that's really awesome. So for the people in the room who don't know what that means, carry paper, what does that mean?
Most of us go to a bank to get a loan.
Yeah.
But some sellers may need to be the bank.
Right.
Where the buyer doesn't have the down payment necessary to please the bank, and in order to get the 80% loan that they need, maybe the seller, who is often a private party. In this case, it was a bank, but it could be a private party. Can be the bank for 10%, loan 10% of their
yeah.
to buyer.
It's kind of like a seller carry or seller finance type thing. No, that's great. That you did great. Hi, welcome. We have a few more people joining. Love it. No, we just barely got started, so this is good. Okay, so offer process. See if I'm. All right, so it's pretty straightforward. The buyer makes an offer, the seller responds. They can respond in one of three ways. They can accept it, they can counter, or they can reject it. If they counter the offer, then that just opens up the door to more negotiation. If they accept the offer, then we just go right into opening escrow and beginning that contract to close process. If they reject the offer, this doesn't necessarily mean they've rejected it completely. Like they're not open to selling. It just means they didn't like your offer and send me a new one. So usually at that point, this is a good opportunity to call the agent. If you haven't already called, and you should have called, we will talk about that. Call the agent and find out, why they said no. See if they'll talk to you about that and ask what can we do better to make, the offer to help the list or the sellers agree to some of the terms or counter at least, right? Oftentimes we get the rejection when we send a lowball offer. And for me, when I have a client who asks to send a lowball offer, I tell them, sure, we can do that, but I want to make sure that we have some comps or evidence that we can provide that substantiates a lowball offer. If we can't find that, then it's going to be pretty hard for the seller to accept that, right? More than likely, they're going to reject it and be like, no, I'm not. Why would I do that when the comps are showing this, So I will always sit down and say, let me pull up comps and let's see what we can find, together even if we need to, so that they can see your offer, your lowball offer is not going to make sense at all. And this is a big waste of time. But I don't tell them that. I help them see that by saying we can do that if we can provide some comps to prove that. As a former English teacher, I like to provide evidence in all of my arguments. So that's how I approach, any negotiation is what kind of evidence do we have that we can provide to help our side win or stand out.
We wanted to make lowball offers
Oh.
And I didn't know how to find those comps and have that discussion with them. And I wasted time.
Yeah. And that's a tricky situation too with investors, especially when you're looking for like flip deals. And there's so many people who reach out to you, hey, do you know of any flips? Can you help me with flips? And I don't have the time or energy to help with that. uh, but if you really want to make that your business, then there is a business for that. Uh, but there's a whole strategy involved with the lowball offers with the homes that are like you have to find comps that are comparable to the condition of that house. And then even then they're going to put an offer in based off of what they think their repairs are going to be, so it is kind of complicated. So I don't know. If you love that and you're interested in that, go for it. But otherwise, just be like, I'm gonna move on and go towards the business that I'm interested in. Yes.
I'm curious, like, working with clients they will offer, is it usually because they're hoping to meet somewhere in the middle with the seller?
Sometimes, yes, sometimes. But I think sometimes buyers are just like, especially because prices are where they're at now, and they just are having a hard time believing that prices are at a 500,000 plus. And they're like, this house is only worth 200, you know? Well, 10 years ago, it was worth 200, but and they've just haven't really kept up with the market to really understand. No, this is really truly what houses are selling for. And especially when it is an older home. Like I have a client right now who they're buying a home that's, I don't know, like built in 1960, and it's old. It's never been, updated really. It's been kept in really good condition, and they're a young couple and they love the vintage homes and want to live in one. And so, it's been tough because we've been going up against investors who are all cash, and they want to come in and flip the house and turn it into something else, and they're like, no, we just want a cute old house. you know so, but it's tough to see, like, even for me, I'm like, we're putting in an offer for $550,000 on this house that needs. Mm-hmm. And so it's even tough for me, but that's what the market is bearing. And so I think oftentimes it's because of that, or a home has been on the market for like 200 days or something. And so then people think, oh, well, let's just lowball them. And really, probably the reason why they're not selling is because the seller is being a stickler on their price. Because if they weren't, then they'd probably already have reduced the price and had it sold.
If your buyer says this offer have to see where they're at, where they're at is realistic price.
Right. Right. Exactly. There are some people who go in thinking, oh, well, it's a little bit high, knowing we can come down a little bit. But you're right. They are listed at where they're at. But a lot of times, yeah. But if it's too low that it's like offensive, then it's like, no, we're not even going to entertain it. We're just going to reject it. Now, if it's, I don't know what the, it totally depends on the price point of the house. I've seen in luxury homes when I had a listing at like 1.8, I get crazy offers all the time. Like 1.3, 1 point is like, my seller was like, no way. But when we were within, like, I think we had reduced the price to 1.5, and we got some offers for like, I think 1.3. And at that point, there was like a $200,000 difference, and they were ready to now negotiate. So even though it was like 200,000 lower, we countered back closer to asking, and then they countered back, and then we met in the middle. The higher the gap is. Yeah. The lower price property, there's less of a negotiating gap. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, but not in all situations. I wouldn't like take that as gospel. Like, I would probably never go in unless I had comps to prove that the house was actually worth 300,000 less in a luxury deal. I would never tell my client, yeah, we should definitely do this. I was a little bit surprised. And that was my first go at luxury with that deal. And I was surprised at what people threw at me in that scenario. People who have lots of money, they do crazy things. It was fun. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so we have three options. And I always like to tell my buyers when we're putting an offer together, I always like to prepare them and let them know, hey, so the seller has three options. They can counter, accept, or reject. And if what?
Or not.
Well, which is essentially a rejection. Yeah. And so at that, so these are, and this is what we're going to do if this happens, right? I always kind of talking about what Ivan said with what he learned, you know, when the buyers and when the sellers setting the expectations, all through the offer process, all through negotiations, I'm trying to set expectations with the client always. And this is one way that we can do that. Any ahas? It's kind of straightforward, right? Okay, prepare the offer. All right. So we're just going to jump to this slide. Okay, so I'm going to show you this slide, and then I'm going to pull up one of my checklists that I have for writing an offer, and then we'll pull up the Rep C and just kind of play around a little bit. But this, what KW says is we're going to, number one, we're going to ensure the property is still available. So how do we do that? Call the agent. Yes. So I personally, anytime we're ready to make an offer, the very first thing I like to do is call the agent. And I can ask a lot of these questions right here on this list on that phone call. And I think a phone call is better than a text in this situation. I think it's really good and it's really important to hear each other's voices, you know, and make that connection. I'm a texter, but in this situation, I have to put on my big girl pants and make a phone call. Okay, so we're gonna, at this time on that phone call, we're gonna find out, have there been any offers? They may not tell you because, you know, their clients have to give them permission if they can tell you if there's have been multiple offers or if there's been an offer at all. If there are multiple offers, then okay, when do we need to have the offer in by? When is your client making a decision? This is a time to also kind of talk about, you know, just be friendly with the agent, ask him about the listing, tell him, you know, I always, when they pick up their phone and or respond to me, I always say thank you for getting back to me, because there's a lot of agents who don't get back to you and it's very frustrating. So please pick up the phone and or respond to the text. Don't just leave us on red forever, you know. Inquire about the activity of the home. You know, if there haven't been any offers, well, what's the showing activity been like? And that just, if they're willing to share this information, then it really helps you when you're going to go back and talk to your client. It helps you strategize, okay, if there haven't really been any showings, that means one of three things, right? Price, condition, or location, which really, it all boils down to price. So we know if there haven't been any showings, there's probably an opportunity for us to come in a little bit lower than what maybe we would have come in at if we knew there was a lot of activity on the home. Inquire about other offers on the property status. If they fell through, why did they fall through? Sometimes they won't tell you why, but especially if it's a due diligence item, they don't really want to tell you the real reason. But you know, do your best to try to get as much information as you can out of the listing agent. Ask questions about the seller motivations. How quickly do they need to move?
So this is all from the buyer perspective, right? From the seller perspective, how much of this can you give away? And is this like a weakness if you reveal the seller motivations? And
yeah, so you do want to, you know, hold your cards close, but I think I don't ever provide like exact answers for people, but I tried, if I do want to help get an offer, I want an offer, so I'm gonna like try to help them in some way. But yeah, you do have to protect, and you do need to talk to your sellers about what they're okay with you sharing, what they're not okay with you sharing, because if they're okay with you sharing multiple offers, then share away. You know, if they're not okay with that, then you can't tell that there's a multiple offer situation, even if there is. So and the reason for that is sometimes people get scared away when there is multiple offers. They don't want to jump in to the ring, and but then other people, you know, they take that as, well, yeah, yeah. Some people just don't love the bidding wars, but other people love it. Um, so yeah, on the listing side, you do need to be careful because your fiduciary duty is to your client. And so you do need to make sure that you're not breaking any of that with them. So I just try to be as gentle and nice and try to give as much information I can without really sharing anything.
Like on one hand, that could be discouraging to a buyer, but on the other hand, that could just say, well, I better make my offer stronger.
Exactly. Right. So that's the reason why I want to know, is because especially when we know there's a lot of multiple offers happening, especially in certain price points right now. Like in Salt Lake County right now, anything under 550 is going to be a multiple offer. So it's helpful to know, like, and I don't, for me as the buyer's agent, I also don't want to be the first offer in, because I don't want them to use my offer as, you know, exactly. I want to be the last one or close to the last one to put it in. And as a buyer's agent, I'm doing everything I can to try to get the listing agent to tell me as much as they possibly will about that, you know, so it's your job as a listing agent to really, you know. Yeah, so I'm going to pull up those lists in just a minute and share you what I have. So ask listing agent how they want to receive the offer. Oh, the seller motivations. A question that I always ask is something like, besides price, what is important to your clients? How quickly do they need to move? Is there anything else that they really want or need from the sale?
Like sharing with the seller's agent. Like, let's say your clients really love the house. Do you share that? Do you tell them?
In a multiple offer, yes. I mean, well, I mean, I do want them to know that they really like the home, but I also don't want it to be to the point where they're like, oh, they love it so much that they're going to take whatever, you know. But especially in the multiple offers, like, I want, like, for this cute couple that I've been working with recently, I want them to know, look, my clients love the house. They want to live in the house. They're not an investor who's looking to come in and make all these changes. They want to live there and make it their own. So I have just really emphasized that. It really went a long way on the last one. We got accepted finally. But now we're having appraisal issues. So that's okay. It's good for my clients. Anyway, yeah. So ask the listing. Did I answer that? I mean, I don't know. There's a balance.
Share, you know, what the clients are thinking about home to the agent. I'm like,
I don't give like super detailed answers, but I'm like, hey, we really love the home. You know, it's in really great condition. Thank you to the sellers for, you know, being such good stewards. I always want to compliment them, you know, especially like, yeah, when it first walked through and with the offer, you know, we can really tell that they've loved the home and that they've taken such good care of the home. Tell them thank you, you know, because that makes them feel, I don't know. Exactly. Right. They like the house. They appreciate the house. Therefore, we want to help them get into the home. Because again, remember, we're not like against each other. We want the best for each side. So I don't think it's terrible to tell them that they like it. Now, I wouldn't tell them it is their absolute favorite house. that we've seen in 30 homes, and they've got to have this house, and they'll do whatever it takes to get this house. I would never do that, but I'm going to go and say, oh my goodness, it's really lovely home. They appreciate it, everything that the sellers have done to take care of it. I'm really trying to build up the sellers and create that relationship between the two so that the sellers have some buy-in to want to work with them.
Recently I worked with a couple for another agent, and I was like, they love this home. I mean, this is the one. And I'm like, don't stress it too much.
Yeah, right. Which buyers love lots of homes. In 2020 and 2021, I've had buyers who've fallen in love 1,000 times, and then they've lost in a multiple offer. And then we go find another one. They're devastated for that day. And then we go find, this one's even better, So attractive. Yeah, it does. And I've even had where things have fallen out and we're in, and they've already, and then they call me back and say, hey, you were in backup position. Would they like the house? Well, no, now they're all into this other house now, even though that was the absolute dream. Now this is the dream. I'm trying to think if I've ever had anybody cancel and go to the other. I don't think I have. So that's why it's yeah, it is their favorite house, but you can say, oh, they really love the house. It was gorgeous. Thank you so much for all the care that you put into the home. And because of that, we're putting in a really strong offer at blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see, how do they want to receive the offer? Okay, so for me personally, it bugs me to no end when they just send me the dot loop PDF after everybody's signed. Really? First of all, I hate dot loop. Second of all, I want you to send me an email with the entire package together. It's okay if it's multiple PDFs, but I want it to be all in one place. I don't want to have to, when I'm looking to find the offer, I don't want to have to search dot loop. I want to search you as the agent. I know who I'm working with. I got to find that email. I want it all in one place. You know what I mean? So I think there are a lot of agents who do not like the dot loop thing. Oh, dot loop's like DocuSign. It's just one of those e-sign. Yeah, so you could do that with DocuSign too, where you can you can set it up where you have the signatures, and then the last, you can number it in order of who it goes to and when. And so you can have the buyer sign 1, buyer sign 2, and then you can put the listing agent's information in and have it sent to them when it's completed and just send. Well, first of all, I'm just receiving a PDF. Send me, give me a breakdown. Tell me who you are. Tell me, you know what I mean? It's weird. It's you sending a text and not saying, hi, this is so-and-so, and introducing yourself. You know what I mean? I just, yeah, you could say, and some people put it in the listing agent remarks. It sometimes says how and where to send it. And sometimes people are really explicit. I'm never say, I hate dot loop. Don't ever send. I'm not that type of person, but there are people who are that way. So no, our brokerage uses DocuSign. So, but it's the same concept. If somebody sent me the DocuSign, just a PDF with no intro, I'm like, who sent me this? Where did it come from? And who should I talk to? Even though I know it says it came from so-and-so, it's still weird. It's send me I'm a touchy-feely person and I want you to create a relationship with me, not just paperwork. Then it feels transactional, right? And this is not transactional if you want to build a long business. Okay, so obtain the buyer's pre-approval from the lender. So if you haven't already obtained that, you definitely need that. And then there's some ideas on, okay, do we send over the blanket one that says what they're approved up to? Or do we ask the lender to edit it and just do it for the offer amount? It's kind of up to you and how you want to strategize that. I've done it in different ways. In multiple offers, sometimes I send the blanket because then it shows like, hey, they're willing to go up. If we need to go up, they really want the house, whatever it takes, we'll do it. See, they're qualified for X. But most of the time, I usually ask the lender to edit and to make it reflect whatever the offer is, just because I don't want to like show all of the negotiating cards all at once. Like especially if we're coming in like 20,000 under what the listing, what they're asking, and then they're like, wait, but they're qualified for 20,000 over. Why did they come in lower? Well, because your house isn't worth that. you know. And then review the MLS and tax records. Okay. So, oh, I got to do it from here. Oh, crap. I hope I remember my password. Okay, so we'll go to one of my listings right now. We'll go to this. All right, so you click on the listing and you go right here to the tax ID. And you can see who owns it, how much the taxes are, the tax year, all of that. You can see kind of like a lot on it, right? So I want to make sure that the seller is the current owner and that we have the parcel number correct. So I usually either copy and paste the tax ID, or so when we go to offer, where's the search? I can't see. Sorry. Slow. Okay, so you can auto-populate the form. So you can either fill it. Oh, whoops. You want to auto-populate with, oh. This is like, I cannot see where so you put in the MLS number or the tax ID number. There's another place to do that. So if we're going back that, so if we go here, go to offer, load. Oh, I also like to make it in blue so that everything, then I want to make sure that this all matches correctly. And okay, the seller's name didn't auto load. So that's where you want to make sure, okay, the seller is, where is it? Zach. Anyway, you put that, you find that and put the name in exactly how it is spelled there. Okay. I had someone once leave that blank. Okay, why would we not leave that blank? The seller's information. Like, why would a person think that they should leave it blank? Ah.
Like, it's an agreement, right? It's a contract, so you have to have their name on it.
You do need their name on it. But this person thought that the other agent would just fill that in later. Okay, so when you are the buyer's agent, it is up to you to find all the information and try to be as accurate as possible. And you don't want to leave any blanks. Nowhere. Okay? It is so important, especially if there's a multiple offer situation. If I have a contract come in that's halfway filled out, I'm not going to take that one seriously. Let's look at these ones, right? You're going to miss all kinds of things. Okay. So I want a person who is very detail oriented. Well, even if you're not detail oriented, you need to be detail oriented when you are filling out a contract. You want to make sure that everything is filled out. Now, I'm going to auto-fill some of this, right? Now, okay, so then I go back to the contract. Why is this so difficult for me on this here today? I cannot see where the... You can't see either?
Well, I can't see from back.
It's the light is weird and I can't see the... Oh, okay. I can't see the boxes. But anyway, okay, so okay, so then I'm going to make sure that this is all accurate, right? I'm going to make sure, okay, the included options, that those are accurate, that those are actually what's included off the listing. If there's anything else that we want to add to it, you can add it here or you can add it to the addendum. I sometimes think people miss it on this line here. So I like to put it in the addendum. If there's something additional that's not already included, I like to do that in an addendum. But you can do it here. It's just fine. If there's an excluded option, then you want to make sure that whatever is excluded on the listing, that your buyers are okay with being excluded, then you put that. If you want those items to be included, then you would not put those dryer and washer and you'd put that on the included line, right? You want the washer and dryer as part of the sale, even though they're excluding it, because everything's negotiable, even if they say it's included or excluded. And also I usually do click the boxes for the items that are like in this. So then I would like delete this one, right? That's just me though. I'm a little A type. So I would, okay, washer and dryer is not included. All right. And then we want to make sure that this box is checked. And then if there are things that are excluded, then we're going to click that box too, or are not. Make sure that that is clicked. Okay, we're going to come back to this in a minute, but let's go to this. Okay, so what I like to do is with the pre-approval, I like to start a group text with the lender that I'm working with to connect the buyer and lender. Some lenders have different ways of communication. So another lender that I work with is Brock, and he likes an email chain. So in that case, then I'm creating an email, a group email where I'm putting everybody's information. And so we have like a nice chain going, right, with the email. But questions that I ask the client, like if I don't know all this information yet, or they haven't been pre-approved, first thing, yes, you want to get them pre-approved. If they don't have a lender, then introduce them to your lenders. And that's how I start the group text to just get things going. And then these are questions that I ask them. How much money do you plan to put down? A lot of times buyers don't really know that they don't understand all the fees that are involved in buying a house. They think, oh, I might have it to have my down payment, which is 3 to 5 to 20%, right? But they don't realize, oh, there's closing costs on top. And so, you know, we have to help them understand that. What is your budget with an HOA? So a lot of times they don't understand the HOA situation either, that when you're buying a home with an HOA, the HOA is actually factored into their qualifying, the payment, it's like added into all that. So it reduces the amount that they qualify for it. So $100 of a HOA reduces your buying power by whatever that $100 equals, right? So I don't know, maybe 20,000, 50,000, whatever. So I usually ask the lender too, specifically when I call the lender and talk to them about the pre-approval. Okay, if they give me the budget and it's like 550, okay, well, what is that budget if there's an HOA of $100? So then I know, okay, we cannot look for houses over X if they have an HOA. But a lot of times lenders do give their maximum budgets and it might not be their full maximum budget. So, so not that I want to like push my buyers, you know, into another bracket, but I think even lenders even know that there's situations sometimes where they need to like push it a little bit just to get them $10,000 more. They can probably do that. Can they go up 50? Probably not. But there's like a little $10,000 wiggle room usually if we're at max. Now, some buyers are like, okay, my max is 650, but I only want to buy a house for 550. So then you really want to try to stay in that. But oftentimes they look in the 550 and they realize, I don't like what I'm seeing in 550, so let's bump it to 6. If we can't find any 6, then we'll bump to 650 and then let them choose though. Okay, can you pay cash above appraised value? So this was a question I had to ask my buyers recently on the multiple offers. Okay, so I had to explain like a negotiating tactic is to say that I will, if the appraisal comes in low, then I'm willing to pay X over that appraised value in cash, because your lender, you can only, the lender will only lend on what the appraised value is. So if the appraised value is 500, but your offer was for 525, that means that you have to pay your down payment of 500. So if you're putting in a 10% down payment of 500, that's 50,000, right? Then anything above 500 has to be cash. So if you're saying I'll pay $5,000 above appraised value, then I'm going to bring in 50,000 plus 5. Right? So that's a question you need to ask, especially we're getting into multiple offers again. I'm not seeing it as much in Utah County. Well, maybe in lower price points, yes, but Salt Lake is wild west right now, under 600. It's crazy, especially with these interest rates. I'm like, okay, but how much does my client need for closing costs? So this is a good question for the lender. But I usually tell clients, like especially if they're in that 500 to 600, they're gonna expect 7,500-ish, 7,000, 7,500 of closing costs minimum. They could be more because some lenders have different fees that we don't know about. Or if they're paying buy downs or whatever, then it could be higher, right? But I usually tell them at least budget for about that, which is about, I don't know, what is that, 1.5% ish. I don't see 2% in closing costs very often. Like $14,000 on a, or $12,000 on a $600,000 house is not very. That lender's charging you some bank if, or you're paying a bunch of buy downs. So yeah, with the buy down, okay, if you are doing a 2-1 buy down, a 2-1 buy down costs about 2.1% of 2.1 or 2.2-ish percent of the purchase price. So if you do need that 2-1 buy down, then you have to think, okay, I need that 2-1 buy down, which is 2. So if it's 500, then you're going to need, I don't know, just 12,000-ish for the buy down plus the 7,500, right? So really you need 15 to 20,000 in closing costs in that scenario. So that's why we need to know, like, what's the strategy? What are we trying for? What do we need? Okay, what's the timeline after we go under contract? So when I'm asking the lender, how quickly can you close the loan? I want to know, especially if I don't know why I keep bringing up the multiple offers, but I just do because these are like the extreme cases, right? So in the extreme cases, sometimes we need to close on a loan in 14 days or less. Can they do it? It's basically, I think the federal minimum is like 7 days. So I've seen lenders do it in like 10. Now that is if everything is perfectly all, you got it all ready to go, and here you go, we're submitting it to final underwriting. And you have an appraisal, because the appraisals sometimes take a lot of time to get back. But 14 days is rushing it. Like, that's really, the lender is, they're moving, getting it done. So I don't usually do a 14-day close unless we have to. I'm going to try to do like a 30-day close, right? Or if they say, can we do it a little bit sooner? Then, okay, can we do it in 21 days? How do you feel about 21 days, sellers? They usually feel good about 21 days, but they're like, no, we have to have it done in 14 days because we're competing with the cash buyer. Okay, fine. You know, lender, can you do this? Look at me. This is why you have to have a really good relationship with the lender, and they have to be honest, and they have to be transparent. And I have had some really crappy lenders who lie. So make sure that you have a relationship and you know and you trust that they can actually do it. I've had a lender who will go off the grid if something goes crazy with the loan, and we don't know what's going on. So I need a lender who is going to communicate to me, hey, we have this issue, and this is what we're doing to solve this. And if we can't solve it here, then we're going to try this. And if we can't do that, then we're going to try this. Like, I want that kind of lender, right? So you do need to make sure that when you are building relationships with lenders, that you are, you're really vetting them and making sure, you know, and try them out. Sure. I use a couple of, I have like kind of a handful that I like and trust. Brock Lassig is one. He's really great. Lassig, Lassig is with the Lassig team. Well, he is the Lassig team. Russ Willwright with Security National is an awesome lender. Austin Ingersoll and his team is great, which Eric with Aries is also really great. Another guy, Scott Manning at Intercap. I really like him. Some ladies, I really like Danielle Young with, she used to be at Guaranteed. I don't know where, she just recently moved. She's really great. I think those are the ones that I like use a lot, mostly. I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes it's helpful to have like a broker and then like someone with a company like Security National or Intercap or something, you know, Academy, one of those. Brokers are probably going to come in at a better rate. Usually the brokers do, where they have like multiple businesses, but you have to be careful because we don't want them to go with unless the people are like A+++++, but sometimes they'll try to put them through, I forget when it's like Provident or something like that. And a lot of times their underwriting is so strict. And yes, they offer like really enticing deals, but sometimes the client doesn't qualify at the last minute. So I always ask, like, who are you using? You know, which bank are you going with? So, but I really think systems matter too. And so Brock Lassig has an incredible follow-up system. Like, your buyer will never fall through the cracks with them. And that's really important to me. Russ also has a really good follow-up system. And so does Austin and Eric. Actually, all the people that I told you all have really good follow-up systems.
Is there a trusted lender list somewhere?
Oh, that's a good question.
There is an approved brokers list, and I think you just ask the front desk for it, or maybe Ritz can email it out.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay. Can you send the client through underwriting so we can close faster once? We talked about that. What this means is, can you send the client through underwriting so that we can close faster once we have an accepted offer? So sometimes you can send a buyer through underwriting, like it's like the first step of underwriting. So they have an underwritten approval. And so that means that everything has been verified. Like they've checked their taxes, they've checked their bank statements, all the things. Yeah. So it is like, it's like an approval letter on steroids. And that is the one that is going to close fast because they've gotten all of the necessary documents. There might be a few, a couple things that the underwriter wants to see, but for the most part, they have everything. So things are going to go a lot smoother, and we know that they're going to close. So like Danielle, she is one of the lenders for Woodside Homes, and so she does an underwritten pre-approval for every buyer who buys a home with Woodside, and they require it. Woodside does because they want to make sure that if they're putting trust in you as the buyer, while we spend all this money to go build a house for you, we want to make sure that at the end of this, there are times when people get to the end and they can't qualify, but it does hedge their bets a little bit, right? If they've been underwritten. And they also, then when they've been underwritten like that, Danielle can follow up with them, make sure that they're on track, they haven't bought anything, done anything stupid. Yeah.
With the underwriting, is that something you could do, say, your buyer is looking at homes, they get an underwritten agreement with their lender before they find the home that they're looking for. That way they can just have it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So when I ask them, when I talk to the lender after they've been pre-approved, okay, what kind of pre-approval did you do? Did you do is this an underwritten approval? If not, okay, is it possible for you to do one of those? And then it's just a few extra steps for them. But I just think there's just so much more confidence in the buyer, knowing that they can everything has been verified. And also for the sellers too, like it's so much better when you said, hey, they're underwritten, like, especially in a multiple offer situation. I want to make sure that the buyers can close at the end of the day. If I'm on the listing side, I want to make sure that those buyers, and if I'm representing the buyer, I want to have confidence knowing that, hey, I can push, make sure they get this deal. And I am confident that they are going to close. And I'm confident that they're going to close. Not only are they underwritten, but they're using my preferred lender. So it is a little risky when you go with somebody you've never worked with before. Call the listing agent before showing on hot properties. Okay, what are the seller's circumstances? Do they need a lease back or a longer close? So those are some important questions to ask. Are there any special features that we might not see just walking through? They're not apparent at first glance. Would clients accept a competitive offer before the weekend? So, because oftentimes people hold open houses on the weekend, but they list, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And so if they're going to allow showings before the open house, will they accept an offer before the open house is a question that I always like to ask.
Would they, as a seller, would you?
Well, I wouldn't as a listing agent unless it's like everything you could ask for and some, but I prefer, well, it's always up to the seller. They get to make the call, but they ask me, what do you think? I would say, well, there's always a chance that we have other people walk through on Saturday and we get multiple offers and, but if they just love like I had somebody the other day who walked through one of my listings and they're like, okay, is there any way, we weren't even showing it until the open house, but they're like, please, my clients are coming from up north. Is there any way they're down in the area? And I promise you, we're going to come with an offer. We're going to come with a multiple offer type offer. And I was like, okay, I just let him talk. Anyway, at the end of the day, I didn't even put an offer in, but whatever. I know. Show the property, call the listing agent before you write the offer. All right, so second thing, okay, when your clients are interested in making an offer, call the listing agent first. Ask if the sellers have a preferred closing date, if they need a lease back, if you didn't already ask that, and whether or not there are other offers, let the agent know when to expect your offer and meet or beat the deadline. And then tell the agent a bit about your clients. Now, I don't really get into like, they're a family with 4 kids and blah, 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 but because they can't really even share that anyway. But, you know, I do like try to tell them how well qualified they are. This is an opportunity to say, hey, they're working with my preferred lender. They've been underwritten. They're, you know, we really build them up as like a really good qualified buyer. They've been looking you know, I like to build the seller up, okay? In my little email. I just like, you know, oh, they really love the neighborhood and they love the house. And I just talk about how well the seller has taken care of the house, even if they haven't. But I mean, if it's really bad and we're reducing the price, then I might say we're reducing the price because of X, Y, Z, which they already know, you know. Let's see. Make sure you have the correct email address to submit the offer. Key questions to ask: are there any current offers? If yes, congrats, that's great to hear. Want to make sure that we put our best foot forward. Can you share some of the details? When are you showing the offers to your client? Obviously, price is important. What else is important to them? Then we want to think hard about how we're going to structure it, okay? So we're going to do, okay, when I'm going to sit down with the buyers to structure an offer, we're going to ask how much earnest money are you going to put down, right? Right now, I usually recommend 1 to 2% of the purchase price is what we're going to put down for earnest money. If they don't have 1 to 2%, then I'm like, okay. Then I start to kind of go backwards and see, well, okay, do you have 2,500? You know, I try not to go less than 2,500. $1,000 is like way low for earnest money these days. 500 is crazy. Have I seen it recently? Yes, but we always ask him to up it a little bit, you know? So, but even builders sometimes negotiate the earnest money. I've done that recently where they said, oh, the earnest money is $10,000. And we actually got them to agree to 1,000 and they took it. So that was great. It's a good moment. But anyway, so we talk about the earnest money deposits. If it's a multiple offer situation, then we're going to probably think about a larger earnest money deposit, right? Then this signals to the seller that you're really serious. Cash offers are great, but they don't necessarily win if other terms are good. So if you're putting in an offer that's over list price in a multiple offer, you don't have comps to justify that, then you want to make sure that your buyer is willing to pay over that appraised value if that becomes a situation. We kind of talked about that already. I actually one just came in like 20,000 low on not on my listings, but on with my buyer. But it was a multiple offer, and we did bid up. We went in guns blazing because we'd already lost on a few, and they were ready by that point. Yeah. We're like, all right, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Okay, some other things that we want to go through. So let's go back to the offer. All right. So on this, we're going to put in the day that we're putting the offer. We're going to put the buyer's information. Now, you don't always have to put middle initials, but it does help when they do the title checks, when they run your information. So, you know, just ask them, how do you want your names to be on title? And so put exactly how you want it on title here. And then you put the earnest money, and then in the form of, now we accept check, EFT, or wire. So I put usually all three of those in that box. I'll do check / EFT / wire. One of those ways will do it. Now, have you guys used Earnest yet? So that's really nice and convenient. That is basically a EFT transfer. But it's so nice, and you do it right through command. Then you want to make sure that you're filling this out as accurately as possible. So we're going to check the tax records, make sure that's all right. We're going to check the seller's name, make sure that's there and typed in and written. We're going to check the included options, the excluded. Whether there's water, we want to make sure. So all property rights that are included with the house are like usually just well, there's a process for transferring the water rights that's done after closing. And I'll show you where to look that up in just a second. But so you want to go to the water division to look up the water right. And then you want to make sure that that's there included. Even though it says it's included, I like to make sure that we have the actual water right information noted on the contract.
Any random house in any random neighborhood can still do that?
No, there's special properties, like bigger properties that have wells and irrigation rights. And usually the sellers are going to, like, you ask them, you know, but in most neighborhoods around here, they're not going to have them. But if you have like in Eagle Mountain, it could be a possibility on the 5-acre properties. So in that case, you want to make sure that you have all that. I've sold a few properties that have water rights. So you want to make sure that you put that information in. Okay, purchase price we're going to do here. And you want to make sure, obviously, that this box and this box add up, or they're the same, this one and this one, right? So this is all like common sense, right? Do we need to break that down? Okay, 2.2 is really important that we make sure that we click the right box. So if it is conditioned upon the sale of, okay, if they have to sell their house, so we got into a whole thing when the market was crazy a couple years ago, where people would say it's not conditioned upon the sale because they were like selling a house for cash, and so they would say, well, we're selling the house, so we're going to buy the house anyway, but they actually couldn't qualify for the house unless the house sold. You have to say that if you can't qualify for the house, you have to say that it's conditioned upon the house or the sale. You can't try to fudge that. It will not work out well for you. So yes, if they have to sell the house, even if they're going to get cash for the house, it is still contingent, because what happens if the sale falls through and then you can't get a loan? Okay, settlement.
So on like the water rights, if it doesn't apply, is it better to just?
Oh, I put NA. Yeah, don't leave the box blank. Put NA. Good question. N/A. I don't know. Okay, closing. Okay, possession. Now, when I'm writing the offer, I'm going to put whatever is the best for my client, even if the seller says that they need 24 to 48 hours. Okay, well, if it's a multiple offer situation, we're going to do what the seller wants. But if it's not, then, you know, and we can negotiate as normal, then I'm going to put in, like, if my client wants it on day of possession, then we're going to put that. Okay, so you have some options upon recording, so many hours after recording, or so many calendar days after recording. If it's a calendar day, then that would mean that it's like by 5 p.m. on that day, then you have to turn over your keys. All the deadlines are by 5 p.m. Drill that in your brain, 5 p.m. Don't miss a 5 p.m. deadline. Okay. On the buyer side, yeah. Unless we've talked to the seller, they're like, hey, we absolutely need 24 hours or whatever. Then I say to buyers, is that okay with you? Are you okay with that? And then we try to arrange it. Because sometimes, like, the buyers are selling a house and buying, and the sellers are selling and buying. And we have all these people who are trying to figure out how to get all their crap moved. So we do try to work with everybody to make it work, you know? But yeah, I usually just put upon recording as my first instinct. Okay, special assessments, I'm going to ask the seller to pay for if there's any, and then if they want to split those, or I've only really had one deal where there was a special assessment, and that's a deal in Cedar Fort where it was like a 7-acre property, and they had a private lane that was gravel. And then that year all the neighbors decided to pave it, and they paved it, but it was like I don't know, like a bond or a tax or something with the state where they just had to pay a little bit of extra on their property taxes every year. Anyway, we ended up just transferring it to the new buyer, and they just paid because the sellers had never used the road, and it was for the enjoyment of the. But some buyers were like, "No, I didn't agree to put that road in. You pay for it," and that would have been a $25,000 thing that my sellers would have had to pay for. So, anyway, that's why I always put seller first, and if they come back, then we can negotiate. But usually unless it's in an HOA where they're like a condo where they've, I don't know, replaced the roofs and they didn't have enough money and they're asking for calling all the homeowners to pay an additional $3,000 that year, whatever. I don't see it very often. Okay, the fees. The HOA, I always ask the seller to pay as well, unless it's a multiple offer, and then we just decide how the buyer wants to strategize that. Because most of the time it does come down to the net, right, of what the seller is going to make. So we want to minimize those extra little fees that would lower the nets. Okay, so then you want to make sure that the buttons are properly clicked. I'm not really pretend I'm not on both lines. Because then that opens a whole other can of worms, right? Which technically at our brokerage, we can't do limited agent. No, it's legal. Right. Dean doesn't like it. Yeah. Oh, dual agency. So we can have a limited broker, but we can't have the limited agent in our office. So this button could be clicked, but we'd have to find a different agent for this. So there's ways around that. You can like have somebody in the office, hey, I have this buyer. Will you take a 25% or 50% or whatever referral fee? Because I'm basically handing you a deal. All you have to do is do the paperwork and carry it through. A lot of times people are willing to do that. Okay. Now, seller's disclosures. This is a thing after closing in. We're doing the seller's disclosures deadline. It doesn't just include the SPCD paper. It's this whole section. I didn't realize that as a new agent until I'd done a few deals. And then I was like, oh, crap. I didn't realize that all this other stuff was part of it. So just be aware that when you are representing the seller and you have to provide the seller disclosures, you have to find everything within this little area, anything that applies. So if things don't apply, don't worry about it, but try to find as much as you possibly can in here. And it also needs to be sent over to the buyer before 5 p.m. on the seller disclosure deadline. So that means one of the things on here is a PR, right? Commitment of title insurance. Okay, so oftentimes the title company cannot do it for you in one day. So you do need to, when you're thinking about the buyer, when you're putting that, like, be conscious of, like, I can't have seller disclosures due the next day because it will take probably a day or two for the title company to get back some of that information. So, and that means you can't procrastinate opening escrow if you haven't already opened escrow. And hopefully if you've got a listing and it's not under contract, you've already opened escrow, you've already ran the preliminary title report, but sometimes things happen and you forget. And so as soon as you get the contract, send it right over so they can get working on it and get it back.
So when I have a listing right now, should I be opening escrow? Mm-hmm. And what does that mean?
So that just means yep, start working on the title report. And that way, when you do get a buyer, all they have to do is edit the buyer's information, and then it's available like within an hour, right? But if they haven't done the search, the title search, then that's what could take 24 to 48 hours. And if it's a commercial deal, that takes way longer. I didn't know that till I did a commercial deal. Mhm. Yep. Yep. Yep.
When did that start happening? I've never done that. Open desktop before.
I think I don't know. I've done it all, I don't know. Yeah, for about like, I mean, well, probably not the full 12 years because let's see, since 2017, I've probably been doing it that way. It just makes it easier when it comes to I've got to file it, and they don't do the full. They just do a preliminary one. And my title girl doesn't charge me for that. There are some title companies who might. So be conscious of that. But so if the deal falls through or the listing falls through, then it's just like we all lose. And my title girl is willing to take that risk, you know. So, okay, due diligence. Okay, if make sure that you click these buttons is conditioned upon due diligence. If it is actually contingent upon due diligence, which most of the time it is. So I had a friend once who was a lender, opted not to use an agent and put $5,000 down as earnest money, did not click the due diligence button. And so when they decided they wanted to cancel because of due diligence, they couldn't. They lost, nope, they lost their earnest money. And it was just, they thought, oh, I see contracts all the time. I help agents fill out contracts. Well, they missed it. So be conscious of that. Is it contingent upon the appraisal? Make sure that button is clicked if it is, or yeah. And then is there financing condition? Do they need financing? Yes, they do. Or no, they don't. They have cash. Okay, here is an option where you can give additional earnest money once they at the end of the pros. Let's see. No, this is where you can release your earnest money. It can go hard. So you can say of the $5,000 earnest money, $1,000 can be hard, or all of it can be hard, or $0. It really is non-refundable at that point. But I don't know why we have to. I don't ever. I just put 0. Unless it's a multiple and they're wanting it hard, then you put that. Additional earnest money. If you want to give additional earnest money here, then you could put that in there. I usually say will not, and I put 0. I never do it there. If I'm ever going to add additional earnest money, it would be like later on during the contract process, and maybe we've negotiated like we need an extension. And so the seller's like, oh, I'll do that extension if you give $1,000 extra. Okay. And so then we would write an addendum for that. I would never put it like in an original unless, okay, it's a multiple offer maybe.
That still makes sense. But you just are, let's give another 2,000.
You wouldn't go back to the contract and fill it in. At that point, you'd have to do an addendum. Like if you were at due diligence or financing and appraisal point in the contract deadlines. Does that make sense? Like you're 2 or 3 weeks in under contract. I usually put 0. Yeah. Because there's no reason to add additional earnest money. So I don't really know why they put that there.
Either way, it'll go to money.
Yeah. Okay. Or closing costs, however you want to use it. If there's addenda, then you want to say yes, and you want to say what it is. So if it's you have 3 addenda, then you're going to go 01 to 03. Or if it's an FHA addendum and you have another addendum, so I'd say addendum that, and then I'd do addendum number 1. So if it's VA, then you want to then you would click the same. Or if there's any other type of addenda, like a earnest money deposit or closing costs one, but I usually do those I like to combine those things into the one addendum where you can, do you know how to, well, I'll show you. Okay. Home warranty plan. I usually include one. The home warranty plan shall be ordered by the buyer. It will be paid, selected by the buyer, and it will not exceed. Things have gone up. I'd put 750 here now. Used to be 500. Everything's more. So 750 bucks here, and it's paid by, I usually put the seller. And that's, yeah, unless there's a reason for it. And oftentimes in multiple offers, I don't even have the buyer pay for it. That's an opportunity for me to say, you know what, I'll do that for you as your closing gift, whatever. Because I want them to have a home warranty, but I don't want them to necessarily have to pay for it. And I don't want the sellers in that case to have to pay for it. So I'll pay for it. I'm just happy to have a deal. Okay. May at the option of parties for mediation. And then you're going to put in your dates here. And I usually do, standard is like 7, 7, 7, 7. Like 7, 14, 21, 30, 28, or 30. So like a week between each deadline. Some buyers will want to see a faster due diligence deadline. So I might go, okay, we'll do 5 days seller disclosures, so 10 days due diligence, and then 21 days for I always do 21 days for the financing and appraisal, and then settlement. Well, I shouldn't say always. There are times when we need to speed up the process like we talked about. But due diligence is one of those things that sometimes the buyers do not want to wait 2 weeks for due diligence. They want that pushed up. So some strategies I've heard is you could say, I've already ordered the home inspection. We're going to have that out whatever day, like in 3 days or whatever, whatever you want to say. But that sometimes goes a long way when you're trying to negotiate a deal too, is to let them know, hey, we've already ordered the home inspection. The sooner you get the home inspection in, the better, because that's where you're going to find all the issues. What time is it?
It's 11.
Okay.
Do you inspection has a list of
I don't. So in Utah, we don't. California, I know you do, right?
Oh, I haven't been in California.
Oh, okay. Why did I think that you worked in California the whole time? When did you move here?
Well, 2004.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So sorry, who orders the home inspections? The buyer.
The buyer. The buyer does. So, okay, to answer your question on that, I have recommended it in some cases, like if they are like worried about their house and what they're going to find. Sometimes they'll say, okay, well, you might want to order a home inspection so you know. But the issue with ordering a home inspection is then you have to, there's a weird, okay, if you want to be, depends on what your values are. Right? What are your values? You want to be one of those homeowners that like wants to make sure your home is in pristine, perfect condition when you pass it over, and you want to have a home inspection and take care of those items that you find when they come and do another home inspection. There's a huge possibility they're going to find other issues. You have to disclose anything that you find on a home inspection report.
Used to offer to the buyer as saving money.
I know, but we don't.
And they're neutral. I mean, they're just inspecting what they see. Buyer can still get
right. So if you wanted to include that with the seller's disclosures, you could. Yeah. Right. But if that's only if the buyers are willing to provide that, if they paid for it, right? And given it. And oftentimes, like me as a buyer's agent, I don't even like share the whole report unless there's a reason to share the whole report. I usually just like screenshot the sections that I want them to repair. Because I don't necessarily want them to know, like, especially if the house is in pretty good condition and there's only a few items, I want it to make it sound like there's so many issues, but we're gonna only ask for these 3. Kind of thing. So, I mean, there's just that area where a lot of people are like, I don't want my sellers, like, if I don't know. I mean, I know, but it is. If you think your house is a great new house, there's no reason to really to do it. And when the home inspection comes, they're probably going to find a few things, but they're not going to be major things, more than likely, right? If it's an old house and there's some major issues, you might want to have a home inspection to see. Or like our friend Darcy, who was here, and she's like, I knew that the sewer line was all messed up with the trees, you know. As a good homeowner, you should probably fix that. And you should probably get it in working condition just to feel good about selling your house. Me personally, I want to feel good about selling my house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be. Yeah. So it really depends on how you navigate that with your client and help them to calm their fears about things, and also the home inspectors that you use. There are some home inspectors who are like, it's like, what are you saying to these people? You just made it sound like their house is falling apart, and it's not. You know, like these are common things. So it's really like you really have to be able to. That's a time for work on your communication and negotiation skills, is navigating the home inspection with your client. Yeah, we use, I mean, pillar to post is great. I use a guy named Eastman. I really love a guy, and his name's Andy Torgerson. I forget the name of his company, Simple Choice or First Choice, or I don't know, something like that. But a few people use them. I don't know. So I'm usually feel good. I mean, these guys they're doing a good job. I'm not saying that, but some people are like extreme. And also some home inspectors who also have other businesses, like they're plumbers or something, or an electrician, then I feel like they're kind of dirty because they try to like get you to then hire them to do all your plumbing work. And it's like, dude, yes, I don't like that. That's what I mean by dirty, is it's just they like try to make more money off of it, which I feel is like weird. It's icky to me.
So, sorry, just to clarify, when you're selling a home, wouldn't you want to get a home inspection for
Some
the buyer?
No, the buyers pay for it and do it. Usually, is how it's done in Utah. Now you can, if you want to. In my listing packet, it is a recommendation on my, like, if you want to like go the extra mile and do some like part of your prepping, you know, I want to get ahead of some of the issues that might arise on the home inspection, especially if I am worried about something. Then I might have a home inspection to then take care of that issue so it's no longer an issue, right? But if I'm not really worried about it, I don't really, most of the time, sellers don't opt to do it.
With that scenario, say like they're worried about something they want to get fixed, so they get a home inspection, figure out exactly what that is, but they then use that as a negotiation. Say, hey, this is what we know is the facts here. We can pay for it, or you can pay for it. We can change your price.
So I would say if you're going to do that, then you just fix it. Because you don't want, I want see, here's the problem with the home inspection is every home inspector they're subjective. No one's going to find the same thing. If it's a major issue, they're all going to find the same major issue, right? They all call out this, they all have their little things, right? So even though my clients order out a home inspection and we take care of all those items, sometimes the buyers don't even want to know about that home inspection. They want to get their own because they want to choose the home inspector. They want to be in charge of that. Otherwise, they feel like it is like biased or tainted in some way. It has the seller's hands on it, you know?
I don't know if you heard her, but anything you learn in the inspection, you have to disclose on the disclosure document. And so that, in my opinion, can only hurt your client, because if you find out something like
and you don't
the
fix it,
foundation is cracked, then you're like, oh crap, that's probably going to be found by the other inspector too, but it might not be. It may not be something that they're looking for. It may just be something that maybe they're more focused on the roof than they're focused on the foundation, because I've gone through it several times and no two inspectors are the same. They're not. They look at different things. They point out different things. And so
I guess you could also have two different, like, say, the seller's inspector that sees something that to them is the world where it's really not.
exactly.
And if you've
Right.
had a client that's been living in a house for 5 to 7 years, like the stats say, they're going to know the things that are going on in their house. They're going to know if something doesn't work. They're not going to not know about a toilet that gets backed up every single week. So you just have that stuff fixed that they know about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't even have to disclose. Well, you can disclose it. You can say, I've had plumbing problems. I had this plumber come fix it on this day and haven't had a problem since.
Right. So it's always best, whatever known problems that you have, that you do fix them before you list your house. Because unless you're selling it like as is, I guess. But
yeah, I'm gonna ask you.
Which one?
Your as is. Isn't this? Well, it's your office.
Oh, that's Corey's. Yeah.
What I've learned from my sister's experience, she bought a second home down in Springville, and she had a home inspection, but the inspector missed everything.
Oh yeah, they will.
And it cost her over $50,000.
Wow.
And this was on a probably $250,000 home at the time, and she couldn't go back and sue him for anything because he quit. So finding an excellent home inspector, to me, is so vital.
It is.
It is. It is. And also you have to realize that most home inspectors, like, they go through a 40-hour, certification program. They're not. If there's some real concerns, then you really should talk to a professional. Like, they can say, okay, the roof maybe have some concerns. Have a professional check it. Then you need to get a roof wrap. Like, if there's foundation problems, then you got to get a foundation professional out. They're just there to, like, find the common things. Like, they're not really contractors. They don't really have an extensive. Yeah.
They were to miss something that was that major.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be held liable.
Yeah, they should.
It's just the grossest situation.
I don't want to belabor this, but on disclosures, so the client that I have now has a mainline sewer line to the street that is in okay shape as far as they know. They sometimes get like minor backups in their basement drain, just at the drain. And they've had it checked out and it looks good, but every other house down the street has had to replace their main sewer line. Is that something that these guys need to disclose, because it's not on their property, but
they wouldn't need to disclose the other neighbors, no, but they just need to disclose what they know and what they've done for theirs. So and then they're fine.
If sewer backs up sometimes, had it checked out, professional, said it was fine.
Yep. Okay, so let me go to the addendum really quick. So there's you guys, there's like 80 something forms. So I really recommend that you go take the class at the board. They offer a forms class where they will teach you about every form possible that the board has that are approved forms. You need to know, just because, well, you never know when you're gonna need something, right? And you need to know why and how it's used. So I recommend going and doing that class. Now, on the addendum, there's specific addendums for, like, well, okay. There are addendums for all of these. All. Like their own addendum. You don't have to use the actual form. You can create it on this addendum here. So if I'm going to say, okay, I want, yeah. So yeah, I'm on the addendum, just regular addendum to the real estate purchase contract. So, okay, there's a disclosure of interest. I'm related to the seller. We'll just say, okay, that could be its own addendum, right? But I'll show you here. Okay, we're gonna also add closing costs, and we want where's the earnest money? Oh, did they take that off? So I guess earnest money you have to earn. Okay, so this, I'm gonna load the selected clauses. Now, instead of doing a separate addendum for each of those things, now they're just automatically loaded in the legalese that the state likes. So then I would just say, okay, the seller is a relative of the real estate broker. Yeah. Or if it was my house, I'm a real estate licensing. Okay, closing a cost addendum. Okay, so we want $10,000 to be applied, buyer's discretion. Okay, then if I want to add on other things, okay, then I can add 3. Whatever I want to add. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. Okay, so we can add on other items we want to.
To avoid, I remember like in 2008 era, there was like a big deal about what concessions you could ask for because people were giving big concessions for carpet and paint, for instance, and that became an issue with the financing crash.
Yeah, so you do need to be careful. Like lenders don't like to see like carpet credits and that kind of thing. So instead of saying it's for a carpet credit, then we just say it's closing costs. Or the problem with that, yeah, they just don't like to see it that way. Just put it as a, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I like to use here's a form that I like to use for due diligence. The resolution of due diligence form. So this, okay, so you have 3 options. They can, 1, just pay closing costs for whatever in lieu of repairs, or we can reduce the purchase price, or these specific repairs are going to be made. I use this form every time for
you do the due diligence.
Yeah. For anytime we have repairs requests, I use this form for the resolution to however we're going to work that out. So usually what I'll do is for the due diligence items, I'll send an email over to the listing agent and be like, hey, from the report, blah, blah, blah. These all came up, and I'll give my evidence from the report. Unless I feel like we need to send the whole report because there's just too many, then we send the whole report. And then I'll say, we usually do some negotiating back and forth before we come to this. This is what we've resolved from all the issues. Now we're going to fill out this form.
So you just send them like screenshots of the inspection, and this is just like informal communication, like via email or something.
Yep.
And then we settled on something.
Yeah. And remember, all this has to be agreed and signed upon before 5 p.m. on the due diligence deadline. I'm going to say that over and over. Yeah. Before 5 p.m. Okay, so don't wait to negotiate at 1 p.m. So that's why it's important to get your home inspection a few days before the due diligence deadline so that you can talk to your client, come up with your list, talk back and forth with the seller, and then come up with your resolution, get this done, signed before the deadline. That's a lot.
When you're writing your own addendums, there's not a form specifically for it, you write your own. Do you need to get that addendum approved?
No. Crazily enough.
So I just took the UCART professionalism and ethics classes, you know, and they said that actually because, as Courtney pointed out, there's 87 forms, there's actually a form for many of the things that you would use an addendum for.
Yeah.
So they encouraged us to get to know the forms, like Courtney's saying, so you know the appropriate one to use instead of just trying to wing it on the addendum.
Yeah, so sometimes if I don't want to use the whole form and I'll go to the form and I'll like copy and paste like if they don't have the option to add it, like I just showed you could do for those few, right? Then I'll just copy and paste some of the verbiage and then put it onto the addendum because I don't want like 10 addenda. I do that sometimes if I don't know how to word things, right? And there are some certain things like the appraisal addendum. There are some things that Dean has some specific ways that he likes things done. So then you want to go to our agent back office. What is that called? The head agent, KW Westfield's agent page where we go find the forms and stuff. What is that called? Great. Yeah. Is that what it is? You guys, it's not working for me though the last couple days. So let me see if I can pull it up. But let me see if there's anything else that I haven't gone over. And if you want to take some screenshots of some of the we kind of went through a bunch of this stuff. So take a picture. um, seller disclosures, earnest money, due diligence, inspection period. Any questions on any of these things?
You just need to memorize the rep sheet, right?
Yeah, basically. Dean is like a walking Repsy dictionary. Like he has the entire thing memorized. Anytime you have a problem, he just like, if you go to section 2.1. So that is my goal, is to like learn it so well that I know exactly which sections to go to when I'm having issues. And if you ever do go take your broker exam, a lot of the questions are where you have to like go, like some of the scenarios, you have to go to the contract and like know where to look it up and read the contract to then answer the question. So knowing the REPC is so important. Okay, review the contract. Make sure your buyer understands the contract before you have them sign. Review details like price, closing date, inspection, contingencies, conveyances, all of that. Know what is essential in your area. Know the standard or common terms for offers in your area, and really try to avoid the rookie mistakes. And I feel like you can do that by just trying to be as detail oriented as possible, filling everything out. If you don't understand something or you have a question, something, ask. Any of us will help you. Dean will help you. Amber will help you. Anyone will help you. So that's what I love about the culture at KW is we do help. Okay, present the offer checklist. Label all of your documents clearly, order the documents logically, create an email summary, notify the listing agent. Yeah, this is something. And Ben actually was just complaining about this yesterday. So when you send your offer in your email that you've nicely written out, and so I like to kind of, talk about, hey, it's so nice. Thank you so much for letting us show it. We really appreciate the time. We really appreciate your time. My buyers are super qualified. We're using my preferred lender. They've been underwritten, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, here's an offer breakdown. And then I bullet the main points. And then I said, I'm so excited. If you have any questions, we're looking forward to working with you and having a successful closing together, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
So the main points would be like
key deadlines, price, any concessions, closing date, that earnest money, if it's going to be non-refundable or not, when, I would say there's like five or six key things, right? Then I'm going to send a text to the agent if I'm not going to call him. But usually at this point, I've talked to him already. I'm just letting him know, hey, the offer's in your email inbox. Please check. Let me know that you received it. Okay. Yesterday, Ben was so stressed because he's doing a commercial deal and they needed to extend the seller's disclosures for like 2 days because they're redoing some of the leases on this retail building. And so he had sent the extension over. It was due by 5 p.m. yesterday. And he reached out to the commercial agent on the other side. And he's like, hey, I just want to make sure that you realize that it's 4:58 and I haven't heard from you. And he's like, oh yeah, I emailed that to you 15 minutes ago. And he was stressing for 15 minutes because he hadn't seen it. And it really would have just gone a long way if the agent would have just texted him and say, hey, just so you know, it's in your inbox, you know? And so then he was like, oh, I kind of felt dumb because it was like 5 p.m. and I'm calling him. And I was like, you shouldn't feel dumb. Like he should feel dumb for not texting you and letting you know. So communication, I think if I can stress anything as you're making and receiving offers, communication is so important. Building relationships with the opposing agents is so important. Trying to be as detail oriented as possible as you're writing things, putting things together is really important. Okay, adding all documents, okay, into command. I do that. I usually,
So Courtney, when you're saying all documents, like label all documents clearly, are we talking like pre-approval letter, offer,
addendum 1, addendum 2? Yeah, so oftentimes like on the real estate, on the utahrealestate.com, when you download the contract or whatever, it has these like weird numbers, right? It's like the 40,000th Rep C that has been downloaded. So you need to change the name of it and, label it. So, and I usually label it as like the buyer. I'll say last name, buyer, seller, offer, and then buyer, seller, addendum 01. I just add the 0 because then it automatically counts it. You know what I'm saying? Like 02. Yeah, 02, 03, 04. So that what I mean is like in your folder when you're saving it, if it's 01, they'll come up right next to each other in order. If you do 1, 2, then they're like all over. Okay. Does this all make sense? We got that? Okay, let's see if I missed anything else. Receive and review. Okay, when you're receiving it on the opposing end, you want to make sure the offer is complete. So I told you about times when I've received offers that don't have things, important things like names. Make sure that is, or I've seen people like not add it up. I was like, who do you think is going to add that up? You need to add that up. Like I'm not going to add it up. Anyway, so confirm the receipt of the offer. So yes, this is part of the communication on your end is I send a reply and I say received, thank you. So simple. You don't have to, or I text them and let them know I received it, thanks. Get offer to the seller in a timely manner. Remember, time is of the essence. So we want to try to review offers as soon as possible and then create a summary for the seller. Now I'll show you what I do for that. Oh shoot, we have 5 minutes. I'll show you really quick. Call the buyer's agent, ask them any questions if you have any questions, and I call the lender. Okay, so I'm gonna have you take a picture of what?
Are we allowed to call the lender in our area?
I do. I call the lender and verify that they're pre-approved. Create an outline document for reference that you call the sellers. Okay, so how do I get out of this? Okay, we're gonna go to let's go to this first. So
are these checklists you made for yourself?
Yeah, I like copied them. Riley made them a few years ago when he was the productivity coach, and I used a bit of that and then changed it a little bit to work with my so offer checklist. This has some questions you can ask, and it kind of goes through the different sections to make sure you don't forget. So I put this together for my team. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, can you send us an email with this stuff? I'm sorry, or is this?
I would. I don't want to send my whole packet. I can send this, but I'd have to. I just need to save the pages, so I can do that. But I'll just send it to, I don't know, front desk, and they send it to you. I don't know. Yeah, does that work? Okay. Um. Okay, and then download the offer. Okay, so this is kind of like, I actually go into a little bit more detail because I have a problem with being wordy. So this is kind of the breakdown of the email. And then some addenda wording that you could use if there's an escalation clause or an appraisal gap. I probably wouldn't use these because we actually have, Dean has approved ones now. Let's see, do I have? Okay, here's where you can call the lender here. I received an offer from X. Are you working with them? Yeah, we do. Like, some people lie. So what can you tell me about this buyer's qualifications? When was the last time you ran through the automated underwriting system? The closing date they put is X. Do you anticipate any issues with that? The amount you approved for is X. Is that correct? With an HOA of X, is that still okay? Any doubts about their ability to get through the loan process? Okay, so these are the lender questions. Yeah, of course. But like I said, I usually personalize this. It's very, mhm. Mhm. Okay, one more thing. You might have to actually log. Are we good on this for now? I'm gonna have to. What's the fastest and easiest way? Actually, this. I'm gonna share it. Okay, so this is my net sheet that I'm gonna show you. And this is what I prepare for every offer that I get. And also this is what I prepare when I am doing a listing presentation. This, yeah, were you at my listing class? Oh, but yeah, I do the same thing. So then they see the numbers from the listing. This is what we projected. And now this is the offer. And this is what, okay, here's the, I'm gonna share this with Hunter. Maybe. Oh, thought this would be the fastest, but now it's giving me, okay. Here we go. It's VIP, right? I think. Here we go. Yep, right there. Okay. Sent. Okay. This is, wait, where's the shared with me? That not go through? You guys. Okay, my computer died. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. Okay. So Okay, so what I do is I put in, okay, so this is an example actually of an offer. So we had one, no, this is a sales price. This is what the offer was. No, this was one offer. Another offer was this. So if I only have one offer, then I hide this column. But if I have multiple offers, then I just create more columns, right? So then I have offer one, offer two, offer three, offer four, offer whatever. So over here, I have the marketing fees divided into two because I like them to see that it's going to two different people. I have the escrow fees guesstimated. I have the taxes put in, the first mortgage amount, and so then I put in the seller paid closing costs, they're going to pay that, the transfer fees that, and we had some other fees. So this is not the right offer, but okay. They're going to net that or that. Okay, and then on the offer, I'm going to put over here, I'm going to put the earnest money deposit, what type of loan it is, the important dates, subject to sell, and the possession date. So I do this, I analyze the offer, I break it down, and I create a PDF of it, and then I send it with the offer. So that when then we open this together, and we look through this together, and then look at the offer, side by side. Does that make sense?
Send it to your seller via email, and then you guys discuss it.
Mm-hmm. Either on the phone or at Google Meet or in person. So, yeah. I just like a little spreadsheet. That's all. I didn't make it. My assistant made it. I'll give her the credit. She's amazing. Although now I know how to do it. Oh, in the MRED program, I've been doing that. And you guys, the last Excel class before I started this program, I took in like 1999. Yeah, at BYU. And it was only like a portion of the semester. It was like the semester was broken up, into sections, and it was like Excel for 4 weeks. And that was my experience with Excel. I did not know anything. And I don't even know how I made it through that. And then I had to go and I had to take Excel for professionals. Oh my gosh. It opened me up. And now I'm like, spreadsheets. Let's make a spreadsheet. It only took me until I'm 45 to figure it out. But anyway. No, it's like one of the required, it's like you have to take it in order to be in the program. I'm in the MRED program at the U. Yeah. So Master's of Real Estate Development. I'm graduating soon.
This fall?
No, I'm walking May 3rd. I still have summer though, but I'm done. I'm essentially done.
You network.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
This scenario, like if you're presenting an offer, do you then put in what you spent on marketing? Like that's for you, right? Do you pay for it?
I pay for it out of my commission. I just put that professional marketing fees as a commission. Instead of calling it commission, we just call it professional marketing fees. Does it sound prettier? I don't know. But anyway, and what I like to show them, like, okay, so what I like to do at a listing is, okay, if we're listing the house and we're trying to decide, okay, we're trying to decide between 5, what they absolutely need, thanks, Amy, is like worst case scenario, they're going to get 550, but I think we can list it for 575. Then I give like worst case, this will be your net, best case, this, or somewhere in between. Usually it's not that close of a gap. I usually have a little bit wider gap, but do you see the idea? So then when we come back and I say, okay, now here's the offers, I put in the original like estimate of what we thought they would get, because they have a copy of that. If they want to, they can pull it up. But at this point, they are already familiar enough with, I think I'm going to get around this, you know. So then when we put the offer together, or when we have an offer and I fill this out according to whatever the offer says, then they can see that we're close to or around that or in between or whatever. And then they can decide if it's going to work for them or not. Now, for me, like, so going back to my English background, writing an essay, an argument essay, you got to have ethos, pathos, and logos, right? You have to show that you're ethical. You have to show that you do that by showing up, giving a good word, you're transparent, you have, then you have to show you're credible, right? And then you have to have so part of all of this, the people are logically minded, and they lead with their hearts, right? Their hearts is the touchy-feely things, and I want you to feel so good, and I'm going to build you up, and that's what we do in our emails, right? When we're trying to build the relationship, we touch the heart, but then I provide the evidence. And this is for the numbers people, because there's usually somebody in the couple who has to see the bottom line, right? So this is for that person. So this is the logic, the the numbers for that individual. I don't know, like for me, I can't make a decision without numbers. But my husband, oh, he'd make a decision because he felt good about it. Courtney, I'm feeling good about this lot. We got to buy it. Sometimes I lead with the heart too. We walk into a house and you're like, oh, I love it. I don't care about the price. But anyway, thanks everybody. Hopefully, do you have any questions or anything? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it is actually. I think the next one is in May. I only know this because a couple of people on our team, I was like, you really should take the forums class if you haven't already. And then they looked it up, and I think there is one coming up soonish, like next month maybe. Whatever board you're with, but yeah, UCAR or Salt Lake board.
On the same subject, say if you are, do they have like online lessons that are like for specific sheets or specific parts of the recipe? So like if you've got a closing that you're working on, you can have.
I don't know that the board offers that. You? Does anybody?
I don't know if there's any online. There's a bunch on.
I was going to tell you, I think that class was at the Salt Lake board. So I don't know when UCAR is offering it, but check. I don't know which one you're with. Okay. Thank you.
Are you with the Salt Lake board?
I'm with the Salt Lake board, yeah. I've been with both. I know that there used to be some videos that we had. That might be a question for Cameron. He might have, I don't know. Riley, when he was that was a long time ago. And he had some videos where he did some trainings on some of the forums. So I don't know if that's still somewhere available or.
I just think it'd be nice to have like, focus groups. So
yeah. That would be amazing. Totally.
Also on the case studies, you go through a lot of the forms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So right now I'm working on the first one. And I just do like all the forms and stuff. I have to like write it out.
And there's 3 case studies or
5.
There's 5. Yeah. So yeah, the 5 case studies that you have to do, we'll give you a little.
There's an online class on the 29th.
Oh, an online class.
20 for the MLS for the forms. Sky Slope Forms webinar.
Oh, Sky Slope. That's like DocuSign, but the MLS provides it. And so they're going to show you how to use Sky Slope with the forms, I think.
It might be the 3069.